You've probably heard that the best radio for a prepper, for a survivalist, is the UV-5R, the venerable Baofang. Folks, this is Fernando doing another video for the more survivalists, and I'm here to tell you that, yeah, probably not. These are maybe the best ones. Let me try to make a case for this. So the way it goes, it's pretty simple. This is your main method of communication, of gathering information. I mean, these have GPS. There's a wonderful app. I think it's called Life or Live 360. There's a bunch of different ones that are kind of like the same. Basically, it's like a GPS location tracking the cell phone, and you share that with other family members. We use that a lot, all the time. It is great. It's not just about someone getting lost. It's about, hey, you're coming back from wherever it is that you went. Are you still in school? Are you still in work? You're still in university? No, my son is coming back, this is fantastic just to know where everyone is, and knowing where you're likely to be. If you're driving back, it actually tells you if someone is moving in a car because of the speed and so on. So this is your basic primary method of communication. But what happens when things go wrong? What happens when you can't use your cell phone anymore, the network is down, or whatever is the case? Well, that's where these babies come into play. And again, it's been said a million times that the UV-5R is the radio for preppers. It is super ubiquitous. It's all over the place. It's everywhere. It is super affordable, and you should have 5 or 10 of these. Maybe at least get one of these for each family member or something on the same line. But I suggest sticking with the UV-5R because, given how common it is, having several means you can exchange like antennas, accessories, batteries, chargers, and so on. Having said all that, this is what you probably want to get. Your PRS, or whatever is the designation, these are your family radios. These are the ones that are limited in terms of power. It's 0.5 watts of power. You have a fixed antenna limited to 8, 16 channels later. And these usually have a bad rep in terms of, oh, these suck. These are just walkie-talkie toys. No, actually Motorola makes very good ones, and they have a nice sound to them. And there's a misunderstanding regarding what kind of capabilities you have with these ones, or even the more expensive. I'm talking about your Yaesu, your Japanese radios that may cost hundreds of dollars. It's more about the terrain than the actual radio or even the watt power that you have. So let's say you have a couple guys trying to communicate, and there's one guy in a mountain and the other guy it's in another mountain, or someone that's like in the plains, right? You have some dude in a little bit of a higher terrain and the other one is in a field like 10 miles away. Doesn't matter. These guys will have a lot better communication than someone in the city. Doesn't matter what you're using. If you're in the city, a guy with a radio, he may be limited to just a few blocks, maybe 300, 400 yards tops, because you're inside buildings, there's maybe structures, there's interference, there's other signals, there's a lot of things that make these things not communicate as well as they should. And if you check out the links below there in Amazon, where you will also find my books, as always, 3 Survival Skills and Surviving the Economic Collapse, and whatever radio I found available in Amazon, there's one from Motorola. I think it's the T92. I like that one a little bit better. It's more expensive, but it has like a flashlight. It uses AA instead of AAA batteries, and it floats. It's a little radio that floats, which is kind of cool. So that would be the one I would suggest. These ones are a little bit better value because they're a little bit cheaper while still being high quality Motorola sets. So the box or the link in Amazon may say like 4 miles. 3 miles, whatever it is. That means very little in terms of radios, because if you buy these things and you try to talk with your neighbor in the middle of the city, like 3 blocks away, maybe you can communicate depending on how much structure, concrete and steel is between you and him. But it may be the case that a guy that is 5 blocks away, you cannot talk with him, and that's immediately when people that don't know, they start, oh, these suck, these are terrible, I should go and buy this. Okay, you will buy this and you will have basically pretty much the same result, maybe a little bit better because it is more powerful, but it's not gonna be a whole lot better. At the same time, some dude in Italy communicating with this set from the coast of Italy with whatever island 100 miles away, he communicates just fine. I saw a video of a dude in the middle of the Andes, and the guy was like in Chile, and he was like, yeah, 200 kilometers away. Dude, half a watt, bang. The matter here is geography. If you have a line of sight, it is amazing how far you can communicate with these. It can be hundreds of miles away that you're communicating with a guy with half a watt. This means this goes along with certain understanding. Distance is not your friend. Geography, let's say you are lost in the mountain, right? And you have one guy here, there's a hill, and the other one is over there, right? These two guys trying to communicate, and there's a mountain between the two. Yeah, that will not work. Now, if you have the proper knowledge, you will understand, oh yeah, I know how to use this thing. I will just walk and get myself in higher terrain, and yeah, I will communicate with this guy, and I'll communicate even with this guy that's 50 miles away, and he's likely to hear me calling for help because I have a whatever emergency. Now, this is the kind of thing I do with my family, especially with kids. Keep in mind, these are fine, but you have to know how to use them. If a kid starts pushing buttons or changing the channels or frequency, this is a lot more simple. You just explain that, look, if you get lost, you turn it on, you make sure it's still in channel 7, and we will all communicate in channel 7. Everyone communicates in channel 7. That's very likely to be heard by other people, and even with different handsets from different brands, still works the same way. Doesn't matter if it's a different brand, even older models that had less channels, it's still the same thing. You communicate, this one reaches. And for people, for the adults in the family that know how to use radio, maybe you have one of these, a little bit of better capability, a bit more power, and it will be the same thing. Whenever kid got lost, if it's trying to communicate, you will hear them no matter if they're using some of these other little handsets. Yes, do keep in mind you do need a license to transmit with these ones. Doesn't mean you cannot buy them, because you can. Doesn't mean you cannot hear who's calling out. And besides, if there is an emergency, pretty much everywhere in the world, if there's an emergency, you can communicate. So let's say my kid gets lost, I can't talk back to him without getting into problems with anyone, because it is stipulated that during emergencies, you don't need a license to use a radio, okay? So let's get that out of the way. My point is, these are fine for most emergency communications. The little AAA batteries, they kind of suck because, you know, very limited, but if you have the know-how and you explain, especially with kids, just turn it on and we will communicate. You will have more than enough time. Don't play with it. I mean, it's fine to play with it when you're home, when you're just when you're not using them for this kind of purpose, but to leave it off, you know, and just use it whenever you have to. This may be combined with one of these. This is a great setup for a child when you're going camping or, you know, trekking or whatever you're doing in the outdoors. These two things would be essential for even a very small child. You have this, and of course the cell phone, which is basically your GPS tracking location for when out and about. Folks, that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed this little video. Take care. See you next time.